experience this evening. Alright, you ready?
And the Miami Autodrome, typically associated with beautiful sunny weather and crystal clear skies like we have become accustomed to on the Emerald Isle in the past couple of days. But tonight it is a little bit different, and it is a soaking wet round 3 of the RTA Virtual Motorsport indyNXT series as we head to the newly opened Miami Autodrome. What a season we've had so far. It has been drama from left, right and centre in our opening 2 races in St. Petersburg, Florida and Mexico City. But now we head just a little bit north of Mexico to the Miami Autodrome. So far in the season, indyNXT has consisted of chaos. It's consisted of brilliant racing, tyre saving and strategy, but in our journey across the world there is a lot more in store, and it is bound to continue tonight here in week 3. Florida first hosted an F1 race in 1959. Miami I should say, they've never hosted an indyNXT race, but that changes here this evening, and our championship drivers are looking to continue that on. Now you can see our track map as we head to the Miami International Autodrome. 5.412 kilometers, 3.363 miles with a lap record that belongs to Max Verstappen in 2023. Top speed in a Formula 1 car here, you'll get to about 324 kilometers per hour. In an indyNXT machine, that little bit less. 71% of your lap distance is taken at full throttle. There's high speed corners, slow speed chicanes. This circuit has it all. The walls are close, the racing is usually fierce, and in all 36 drawings of this circuit we ended up with this variation that will play host to hopefully a fine spectacle here tonight. It's a pleasure to be back, folks, on Gantry TV. My name is Evan Dalton. Kevin Galvin will be joining us in the next few minutes, so fear not, folks, it is not just myself tonight. It is Ronan Henneman behind the scenes as always. As welcome to Miami, as Will Smith said. Championship so far, rather interesting, and it is still Kerry man Tony Griffin who is at the top of it by 10 points ahead of Formula 4 and Ligier European Series driver Brandon McGaughan. What a season so far it's been for Tony. Really an excellent start in St. Pete. Didn't end up on the podium last time out in Mexico City, but still had a very strong showing and was able to rack up a few points. Harvey Dara then in third on 122. Sean McClemens producing one of his best nights in terms of consistent pace in Mexico City. He sits fourth on 120, 12 points ahead of his younger brother and teammate Dylan McClemens, who's 3 points ahead of their other teammate Ronan Doherty, who won't be racing this evening as he jets off to another sunny paradise just to the side of Portugal. Weird way to say Spain. Anyways, Capital Chuck was in 7th, 4 points behind Ronan Doherty. Lee Cogan in 8th, ahead of Alex King in 9th, and then Kevin Joyce in 10th position. But a bit of a strange grid this evening. One of our smaller grids in RTA, but I suppose that's what you get when the sun is finally shining in Ireland. We've 15 drivers for tonight's action, meaning it could go many different ways. There could be a surprise winner or a surprise podium placer somewhere tonight, which could make it very interesting. 3 different winners in round number 2 in Mexico City, 2 different winners in St. Petersburg, Florida. So we've had 5 winners already this season, and that trend hopefully will continue here tonight. We're not expecting full wet weather for the entire evening. The likelihood is we will have more dry than wet in the heat races, but as you can see, qualifying so far with a lot of damp spots out on the circuit. So the drivers will be heading out on the wet tyres, their first experience in a competitive session on the wet tyres, so be interesting to see how this one plays out. But just getting started here in qualifying for Miami, we can see the indyNXT cars heading round for the first couple of sectors. That is the S's of turn number 4, 5 and 6. It's going to be very tricky in conditions such as this when we're on board with our championship leader Tony Griffin, as they're pulling some temperature through the tyres and getting them all heat up. Now my compatriot Kevin Galvin joins me in the commentary booth. Kevin, good evening and welcome to Miami, which somehow has worse weather than here at home.
Yeah, we never thought we'd get to Miami and actually be complaining about how wet it is. But here we are. It's an absolutely rain-soaked Miami International Autodrome. And just as these guys have gotten their handle on these cars, now they're being asked to drive in the wet. So it'll be interesting to see whether that shakes things up a little bit. But as we see one going off in the background, that is a Camto Chukwa that went straight on in background. But yeah, I mean, it's Tony Griffin leading at the moment, but there's definitely going to be quite a few challengers, and weather is increasingly becoming a part of the RTA championships over the last few seasons. So if Tony wants to keep his reign at the top going, then he's going to have to find out a way to get going in these wet conditions. Not an easy track though in the wet, and it's not a track that's going to clear up very easily because we just don't have the speed going around it. So, as you say, extremely difficult to get temperature into the tyres.
Excellent pun, by the way. That was fantastically worked in, so fair play, Kevin. Yeah, it's going to be tricky. These indyNXT cars are not designed for running in wet weather. Most American races in dry, even if the 2 big ones at the weekend were heavily impacted by rain. indyNXT do run wet tracks, of course, but it would be rather rare to have more than one a season. Final corner is going to be something of interest, as drivers are probably going to try and use that to extend their run down the straight, the flat out section of the track, to get a good qualifying lap. But if you do that and you use too much of the circuit, you do actually get a slowdown. But this is Dylan McClemens we're looking at in towards the first corner. The right-hander and the number 88 is going to slide his way through here. Avoid these curbs as much as you can because they'll kick you off it and into the wall, which Max Verstappen found out the hard way in this year's Formula 1 race. Dylan McClemens, even in 4th gear, while well flat out, is sliding as he prepares for turn number 4 and 5. Coasted in through there. These indyNXT cars are going to just slide their way across the wet surface. This is not going to be the quickest laps of the day by any stretch of the imagination, but Dylan McClemens holding the inside line. He's going to now finally open up the steering through turn number 7, and once again avoiding all curbs through that section of circuit. You touch that curb in this car and it won't treat you nicely. Now flat out from turn 8 to turn 11, the longest flat out section on the circuit. 71% of the track taken at full throttle, of course. 6th gear in these IndyNXT cars. Even though it is wet weather, we will still have push to pass in the race, but that, of course, is disabled for qualifying. You're looking for the 100-metre board. Slam on the brakes. 2nd gear, rotating it in through. You find it very tricky to do this section of track without touching the curbs, but Dylan using 1 on the right hand side, and then for the chicane you have no choice, unfortunately. The natural line is to cut in on that inside wall and bounce your way across the blue paint on the left hand side. Now you're heading under the highway through the left hander, down the long back straight, biggest overtaking zone on the circuit, arguably in towards this hairpin, but you've got to nail your braking right here at the 11th different location in the US to host a Formula 1 race, and God knows how many to host an IndyNXT or Indy Lights race. Brake once again at the 100-metre board. Dylan as smooth as ever, and with his inputs you would not think this is a circuit that is saturated by the morning's rain. Flat out for the final few corners. That's the only way you'll be quick enough to get a qualifying time on the board, and Dylan McClements up and across the line. It's a very late start finish line here at Miami. Would you believe that's only the 5th best?
Yeah, it's Brandon is fastest with a 1:58.75. As you say, these drivers and these cars aren't used to running in wet weather, though we had a fascinating finale to the Indy 500 at the weekend following concerns that it may not even go ahead. Obviously, those cars are so volatile as it is, without introducing rain into that race as well. But a absolutely thrilling conclusion to the Indy 500 last weekend. If for those of you who got to watch it live, I got to watch it on the highlights, which was just as well. But yeah, Dylan usually way up the top of the standings, down to 5th at the moment. But Tony Griffin is holding his own. He's in 3rd at the moment with a 1:59.14. Interesting about this track is a lot of very interesting things about this track. Obviously, that's the section that I was just going to get to, the turns 14 and 15. Where you come out the back, but this final sector, this final straight, is actually an access road for the Hard Rock Stadium, which is located nearby. It's 1.3 kilometers in length, and then off the back of that, this turn 17 coming up, at least for F1 cars, is one of the most violent braking zones, with drivers enduring up to 4.6 Gs of deceleration as their cars slow from 319 to just 76 kilometers in less than 3 seconds. So you can imagine what that feels like. Just get in the car, Peter McCann, around Mondello Park, and you'll find out. But yeah, no, it's or ask any of the walls around around a certain Scottish racing circuit, and you'll find out what deceleration means. But yeah, I mean, it's an interesting track. There was 75 different layouts, 36 of them simulated before they finally decided on the current configuration. So there is thought put into this track, and it's a track, Evan, that does allow for good racing. It's not. It looks a bit like a street circuit. It's kind of with that Monaco Marina effect, as Rory O'Shea, our leader so far, doesn't get that one right, plows himself into the wall on the outside. But there is actually plenty of opportunity for overtaking, and the recent F1 race just showed us that.
Yeah, it's a good circuit. The Monaco Arena effect is something reminiscent of a paddling pool out of Home Store and more, but they still put a bit of effort into the circuit. It provides good overtaking action. There's a lot of overtaking zones. I'm very interested to see how these IndyNXT cars fare around it, because they're definitely different to Formula 1. But we do have a little bit of a sample size. Formula 2 cars wouldn't be so far off these IndyNXT machines, and Formula 2 right here was excellent in similar conditions to this, so hopefully the battling is good this evening. Brandon McGowan was purple in the first sector, Tony Griffin purple in sector number 2. Brandon's not able to beat that, so with less than half the qualifying session to go here, it is looking like it's going to be between Rory, Brandon and Tony for pole position so far, but Dylan and Sean not too far off it, both almost setting identical laps. There's a lot of field spread as the time goes on. We're still yet to see a lap from Ken Doyle and Dara O'Connor, with no Jordan Kelly racing this evening. So Tony Griffin is coming through the final few corners, as is Brandon McGowan. They are almost side by side out on the circuit. Tony not able to improve. What can Brandon McGowan do? It's a 56.5 to beat, and Brandon McGowan up across the late start finish line here in Miami is not going to be able to jump up. He was pipped by Sean McClements and all that though, who's into the 56s.
McClements was, speaking of paddling pools, there's Sean McClements in third position. His brother Dylan goes fastest with a 1:55.8 through 3. And as you say, Evan, like paddling pools that aren't actually sold at Home Store more, but if
Yes,
they
they are.
were,
Yes,
when
they
they're
are.
gone,
Google
they're
it.
gone.
Yes,
Oh,
they
yeah,
are.
okay. Well, there you go. When they're gone, they're gone. And speaking of being gone, Conor Mealy has gone up to second position, 1:56.379. Here's a man that I suppose we were all hoping to talk a little bit more about. Certainly rapid in the real world, not quite able to get it done in the sim so far this year, but a big IndyCar fan. No doubt he was glued to the Indy 500 at the weekend, but it hasn't put him off setting a good lap time here, 1:56.379, but still over 5/10 behind Dylan, and we only have 5 minutes left of this qualifying session.
Yeah, great lap by Dylan, who seems to be the pace setter once again this evening. Was excellent in Mexico. Very unfortunate heat free for all of the Team DDR drivers, but Sean and Dylan were 1 and 2 and then reverse in heat number 2. So keep Dylan at the top of your minds this evening. Excellent lap by Dermot Toomey to go to third, 56.4. Dermot recently racing in the Tillotson Ireland Karting Championships, so a bit of a different jump this evening, just 2 days later after doing that for Dermot. But look, that's a very good lap time.
Yeah, no, great lap time for Dermot, and he's going to find himself up with the front runners. And I suppose that is the way. I mean, there's only 15 drivers on the grid as it is, so less competition, of course, if you are taking part, unlike certain admins. But I've just started slightly distracted by the fact that Evan has put a link into the chat, and the first thing I see is, I think it says homestoremore.ie/hot tubs, and yet he's leading to a paddling pool, which
I don't know why it says hot tub. It is the Best Way Marine Fill and Fun Pool, 1.52 meters, only $9.99. That doesn't seem a bad price in this comic.
1.52 meters. You'd want to have dwarf children in order to enjoy
Or Rory
said.
O'Shea.
You can't say much now, Evan Dalton. The only man who's ever had to step on a box to do a Gantry TV broadcast. But yeah, I think if you went to a hot
I am a
hot
lot
tub
taller
section
than Rory, but that's not a good thing, because my word, can that man take corners in a go-kart like no other man can.
Well, it's the lightness. That's the only reason I'm slow. That's the reason I give, and it's the same in the sim. The sim recognizes your weight when you sit in the chair.
Yes, it does.
I'm
Yeah.
convinced it. Speaking of Rory O'Shea going fast, 1:54.695. That is seriously rapid from O'Shea, who's obviously hooked up quite a few corners in the High Prix number 11 car. And good to see Rory back, and good to have an old mention of the High Prix car as well. We do love mentioning the old High Prix number 11, and that's very quick. Like when he's almost a second quicker than Diarmuid Toomey in third place.
He is almost a second quicker than Dermot Toomey, and Rory O'Shea certainly not in the market for a paddling pool. He's in the market for pole position here this evening in Miami. Still yet to see some fast times from Kamto Chukwa and Harvey Dara, the two drivers who have put the most practice in this evening. But what was their big mistake? They did all their practice in the dry, not knowing that it's Jordan Kelly. Jordan's not racing. Whenever Jordan doesn't race, he likes to make the lobby horrendous conditions, which he has done. But it's now Rory O'Shea, Sean McClements, now Brandon McGahan. It was Dylan McClements, but Brandon has improved to third with 3 minutes to go.
Yeah, getting it done right at the end is Brandon McGahan, but Jesus, if Rory O'Shea, I mean, it's a difficult one because obviously it's such a technical track that if you hook up a lap, you'll always have a chance. As Lee Cogan goes into fifth, that doesn't necessarily reflect your lap by lap pace. But if Rory is getting a handle of the track, like Conor Mealy, Tony Griffin going in there. Oh, well, our championship leader just gets in there at the end, 1:54.069. That is really quick, and there is a massive gap there as we start seeing times coming in. It's definitely getting quicker, Evan, as you said, but a 1:54.0 is going to be extremely hard to beat.
It is. Mildly concerned how I've just noticed Tony's safety rating is 1.4, but I'm not going to say anything. That is a fantastic lap by Tony. Track does seem to be getting quicker. Harvey Dara has gone to third. Then we saw both Connor and Tony improve. That just puts the pressure on those who are quickest at the start of the session, because they've got to go back out, they've got to keep running until the checkered flag drops and potentially improve. Sean McClemens has gone purple in the second sector, and he'll be looking for a smooth run for the final corner. Currently sits in 6th position and is almost 7/10 of a second off pole position with a 54.7. Tony Griffin on a 54 flat. Very crucial braking zone in through the final braking zone for Sean McClemens. He's a little bit wide of the apex. That's not an ideal run, but he will square off the exit and be full beans down towards the line, sliding through that flat out section. Got to keep the throttle stuck on the floor here if you want to get a quick time, and Sean McClemens is able to go onto the front row, but Tony Griffin is going quicker again.
Yeah, he just keeps going faster and faster as Tony. He's gone purple in the second sector. He could break that 154 barrier, which is going to be exceptionally difficult for anybody else. I see Sean and Connor are exiting the pits, but it's going to be too late for them. Oh, there was an apex there, Tony. I wonder, has he dropped off some time there as he heads back towards the stadium here? He's going through T17, 18 and 19 here. Can Tony Griffin improve? Yes, he can. Wow, a 153.0. It stopped raining, ladies and gents, and the times are tumbling down.
That's going to be very difficult for anyone to beat in the final 20 seconds of this session. Can Harvey Dara pop the quick lap from Tony Griffin? Chukwa goes to third. There's a car reversing. Dara's onto the front row. Dylan McClemens flies for the final corner to steal it at the death. Rory O'Shea goes to second. No improvement from... Oh, there is, but it's only third from McClemens. Brandon McGaughon's gone purple in sector 1, but there's no time left. Rory O'Shea went only a 10th of a second behind, but it is terrific Tony on pole once again.
Yeah, our championship leader picking up where he left off last week, and it's a case of timing, not just about how quick you are around the track, but when you get your lap in, and Tony getting across the line just ahead of everyone else, getting a great time at a 153.0, and there's some big gaps there down the grid.
Yeah, there is a lot of field spread that we're not used to maybe in RTA single-seaters, but it's Tony Griffin on pole position ahead of Rory O'Shea in second. Dylan McClemens in third, and Harvey Dara in fourth ahead of Sean McClemens in fifth. Camter Chukwa in sixth with Conor Mealia in seventh. Then it's Dermot Toomey, Brandon McGaughon and Lee Cogan to round out the top 10. Alex King in 11th, Dara O'Connor 12th. Jean Zoutevella way down the order in 13th. Ken Doyle 14th, and it's Niall Stevens to round out the field in 15th position. This could be a very interesting race.
Yeah, oh god, yeah, it's going to be a really interesting one. Although I see the skies clearing up,
is on slicks.
Interesting choice from Lee. I presume it's going to get wetter again as the evening goes on. I mean, we're expecting wet weather this evening, so but it looks dry at the moment, so maybe Lee might be making the right decision. I mean, even if you're on wets, it's a 10-minute race, you'll probably survive. But yeah, it's a very, very interesting one.
So far, Paul Sitter Griffin is on the wets. Sean and Capito both on the wets. Lee Cogan and Alex King have opted for the dry tyres. So very interesting to see how this plays out. The usual philosophy is, if you don't know whether you should go for wets, go for dries. Rory O'Shea has gone for slicks on the front row. This is all going to come down to how wet the circuit gets towards the end of the race. Right now, as you rightly said, Kevin, the track looks perfectly good for slick tyres, but if most of the front runners are going for wets, it would make me think that dry tyres is an interesting decision. But if you're the likes of Dermot Toomey and Lee Cogan, who are down the order 8th and 10th, going for a slick set of rubber is not the worst idea, and we're getting ready to go racing here. With the 5 red lights about to come on, it's Tony Griffin on wets on the outside of the front row, Rory O'Shea on slicks, and with the standing starts here in the indyNXT, we go racing in Miami. Dylan McClemens is off and away, and the dry tyres are the wrong call here at Miami. Dylan McClemens leads into turn 1.
Yeah, definitely. You can tell Rory O'Shea down 13 places from second. He just went absolutely nowhere when the lights were extinguished, and it's Dylan McClemens flown into first place. Tony Griffin into second. He'd be disappointed to be overtaken by Dylan, who just got a better jump on him in the DDR number 88 car, but Rory O'Shea absolutely getting that one wrong. He's gone into the pit straight away as the number 11 car. I wonder, has he had an accident? But definitely the slick tyres were not the right call there for the Wexford man.
No, the minute you saw the spray from the wheel spin at the start, you knew not a good call from those who went on the dries. And yeah, Rory O'Shea really struggling into the first corner from the front row. Spun round. Did he make contact with Lee Cogan in the Aries Motorsport? Didn't look like he did, but his front wing disintegrated nonetheless. And that is a horror show for the High Prix as we are into the stadium section. A little bit wide from Campto. He now finds himself under pressure from Heat 3 winner last week, Brandon McGaughan.
Yeah, Brandon didn't quite get a fast time in at the end of the lap, but he obviously has the pace within him. If he can get things hooked up a little bit, he's behind Campto Chukwa, and obviously these are very difficult machines to navigate in this weather. Ken Doyle has a slowdown at the moment, which is going to have to serve back along the pack. A little bit less chaotic now that we only have 14 drivers in the running with 15 on the grid in total. It takes the pressure off us a little bit, but that top three is starting to pull away. 1.4 the difference between Campto and Sean McClements in front, and looks like the two McClements brothers and Tony Griffin are taking us first up back towards the Hard Rock Stadium.
Yeah, we're on board with Harvey Dara here. Second in Heat 3 last week, his best result, but was the race winner in the opening heat of the season back in St. Petersburg. He's chasing down Brandon McGaughan and has been excellent in the IndyNXT car so far, as has McGaughan, to be fair, but McGaughan quick in anything. Harvey, you can see, just washing out on that corner. Not able to stick in the slipstream, and Conor Melia, I thought he was going for a Hail Mary around the outside, but still a little bit further back. Interesting to see these drivers running all very different lines here, just trying to get used to the circuit and find where the grip is in what is not as wet as the start of qualifying, but certainly not easy conditions. As you can just see McGaughan show the nose in through turn number 8.
Yeah, it's one of the great things about the Tempest weather system. I know we talk about it a lot, but just the fact that it is genuinely dynamic, not in the way that other games claim to be dynamic, but it is genuinely dynamic. So there is actually merit in trying to hunt around for the fastest line and try to find things, because things will change even over the course of this 10 minutes. I mean, we are still in Florida, let's not forget, so despite the fact that it's thundery and that it's wet, it can also dry up in the drop of a hat as well. Very humid, and that picks up a lot of that moisture as well off the track, so it can dry up very quickly. As Sean McClements looks like he's had a slowdown, so he's going to have to take that. That'll drop him off the back of Tony Griffin and will mean he won't be able to give a hand to his brother Dylan later on in the race.
Yeah, disappointing for Sean, because that's going to drop him into the clutches of Campto Chukwa as well. Chukwa now within 0.8 of a second, which is a typical slipstream gap. And Brandon McGaughan, or Harvey Dara, I should say, has gone for the lunge on Brandon McGaughan, and McGaughan's left the door open, and Harvey Dara has slipped his way on through. They're side by side on the exit of the corner, the 10 on the inside, the 89 on the outside, and Brandon McGaughan, full commitment around the outside. He's not giving up his place that easy.
No, and I mean, I think he kind of felt that given where Harvey Darby was, it was going to go straight on in the inside and potentially collect him, so I think he had to leave the door open for him lest he be turned around, but decided that he wasn't going to give it to him that easy, as you say, and then swinging back around into the next corner. Thanks to all of you for getting involved in the chat. Love hearing your comments, keeping us going here on, I think, an evening that everyone would rather not be inside. If we could do this outside, then that would be a lot better. But one of us, Sean McGoldrick in particular, says that his rig room got to 43 degrees during practice, so he decided to pull the plug. I think, Sean, that was probably a good idea. I don't think heat exhaustion is quite worth 20 championship points.
Bold of you to assume Sean wouldn't have taken the full compliment and taken 30, but you never know. Here comes Harvey Dara going for it around the outside of Brandon McGaughan once again. Brandon has ran a much safer inside line this time and then blocks the door on Harvey Dara. That is textbook defending at turn 11 of the Miami Autodrome. Conor Melia is right behind these as well in a similar coloured car to Harvey Dara, but running his famous Martini livery that he knows and loves now, and runs on his real world racing car as well. Of course, speaking of real world racing cars, the man in fourth was reunited with his Campto Chukwa, the RTA scholarship car. We've got our second RTA scholarship runner coming up soon. But enough on that for now. We'll speak more on that later, because we're looking at a fine fight here in the indyNXT as Harvey Dara is trying for the outside on Brandon McGaughan, and he's got to break a lot later and run a lot more committed around the outside, and Brandon is going to run him as close to that outside wall as you possibly can. Brandon swept it round the outside on the last lap. Harvey Dara is looking to return the favour, but Brandon McGaughan once again gets the better run out of the corner, no matter where he is, squeezes him to the inside wall. Dara pivots to the outside, aggressive fighting. Brandon McGaughan, off you go into the runoff, not getting that one stopped with the finest brakes, and Brandon McGaughan is losing a place.
Yeah, I was afraid that might happen to Brandon, because he did go wide in that corner in the last lap. Harvey having the outside line, and then when Brandon so aggressively moved to the inside, I just couldn't see him handling it through braking, and ended off going off. And as Johnny Hollywood said, oh, big accident, oh, huge accident, Camto, Brandon, Sean McClement's involved in that, who else is Alex Stevens involved in that? Oh, that's a huge accident going through the first sector.
Yep, you could see Sean McClement's car a little bit undressed there. We'll have to take another look at that one. That kind of came out of nowhere, didn't it? Right, let's have a look at this. This is Sean McClement's. That's Camto Chukwa trying around the outside. Sean's on the apex. Does Camto... Oh...
And then Brandon arrives on scene. And then Conor Melia... Poor old Conor Melia got cleaned out in amongst that. Just drove straight into the scene of an accident. That was not his doing.
Might need to go on board here. Here we go. So
have a look.
Camto goes the long way, and then runs, and he drifts off the apex, doesn't he?
He does. Yeah, I think he does. But I also think that's on Brandon. Brandon just arrives into the scene as if there was no accident in front. Well, I mean, maybe it's hard because maybe Brandon, maybe it's just too. It was too quick. Obviously, easy to when you know the accident's coming to do that. But Jan Zoutfella manages to avoid the incident. I mean, he did very well, Jan, because he also arrived in that scene, but managed to avoid any major damage, and he's massively profited from that. He's up 9 places now to 4th position with just 2.5 minutes left on the clock.
Yeah, burnt toast theory for Brandon, really, isn't it? Because if he didn't make a mess of his braking when the battle with Harvey Dara, he would have got through that accident unscathed, because Harvey Dara did, and he was in the position Brandon was before. So Brandon, partially the cause of his own demise there, but I suppose 2 race cars going sideways at a high-speed corner is not really what you expect. But excellent from this man. 2 minutes to go. He's looking for a second win of the season, Dylan McClements. Usually when he gets in positions like this, he does not let up, does not make mistakes. Could well be a commentator's curse, but Dylan usually overcomes them.
Yeah. I mean, I'm surprised actually. Tony showing exceptional pace. I mean, he was down to 53 flats and was taking huge chunks of time off his fastest time during qualifying and started on pole position. So I'm surprised Tony actually did the gap. It's not so much the fact that Tony's in second, because we all know how brilliant Dylan is, but the gap of 2.6 seconds, or what's now 2.4 seconds, or whatever it is at the moment, it's a bigger gap than what I would have expected, being totally honest, given Tony's pace thus far. So maybe Tony just struggling to get the pace down in the changing conditions as well as Dylan. But 2 heats left for the Kerryman and our championship leader to keep things going. But Dylan, this is the first time we've seen Dylan look really, really strong in this championship so far.
Yeah, it's a single seater, and it's Dylan McClements. They go very heart and heart at the best of times. But Tony Griffin still been really good so far in this championship, so don't rule him out just yet. You can see the push-to-pass numbers. Niall Stevens being very conservative on his, as is Sean McClements and Alex King, but I imagine Sean is running around with some damage. White flag here at the Miami Autodrome. Not much fighting happening, but the real controversy already occurring in this heat, and that was that incident. A couple of chat reactions. Peter saying Camto will fight that to the death, and Jordan saying he can't wait for race number 2. That is a bit menacing, isn't it? Because Jordan knows what's coming in race 2.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Well, you know, I think we all know what's coming in race 2 now, based on that Jordan Kelly comment, to be totally honest with you. But we'll see how this man gets on. Sean, There was Ken Doyle, I think, touched the bar on the outside there, but manages to get away with it. But yeah, Sean, showing some good pace with Sean McClemens, and obviously very much hampered now by the fact that he's missing some of his body work. But yeah, was showing some good pace until that accident with Camto, and I'm sure the two of them will fight it out in the stewards' room as they are entitled to do so. But this is all beyond this man who has run a pretty much perfect race from beginning to end. And you can see the gap coming down with Tony. But Dylan just managing that gap there now at the moment as he heads towards the back straight for the final time of this opening race.
Yeah, but excellent. Excellent from Dylan McClemens. Once again, got the lead in towards the first corner and yeah, never really looked back, did he? Tony Griffin has actually given a good effort on this lap, which makes me think Dylan has made a mistake somewhere, but it's unfortunately too little too late for Tony Griffin. And Dylan McClemens will come through the final corner and will take the first heat win here in Miami. Took heat 2 in Mexico City. I wonder, is there a hat-trick on the cards for the young Antrim man?
Yeah, could be. I mean, it's going to be very hard in this final race if the kind of weather that we're maybe anticipating from Jordan happens. It's going to be very hard in that final race to get through unscathed from 8th position. But Jan Zoutvela came from 13th all the way up to 4th. So he proves it can be done. That's a great finish for him. Ken Doyle up 6 places to 9th or to 8th. So just to give you an idea of how this race has gone. Apart from Tony Griffin, who's dropped from 1st to 2nd, every one of the top 8 have gained places. Jan Zoutvela has gained 9 places. Darragh Connor's gained 7. Alex King gaining 5. Niall Stevens gaining 8. And Ken Doyle up 6. Then behind them you've Sean down 4, Camto down 4, Connor down 4, Diarmid down 4, Lee down 3, Brandon down 5, and Rory O'Shea down not just 13 places, but I suspect a couple of eggs that have ended up in his face. So that gives you an idea of the race. It was kind of a reverse grid race without being a reverse grid race.
Yeah, it was in a sense. Bit of a strange one for sure. Track certainly dried out towards the end. I wonder if it had been those conditions at the start, would the guys on the slicks have had more of a chance? But definitely seemed like wet weather was the way to go, as there's a paddling pool that we were talking about earlier as we get ready for race number 2. So Dylan McClemens, your winner, and Tony Griffin in 2nd position, as that has changed for some reason, but it definitely was Dylan who took the ride. That's qualifying. Here's the race 1. Dylan McClemens takes the win. Tony Griffin in 2nd. Harvey Darragh in 3rd. Then Jan Zoutvela. Good race for Darragh O'Connor from the back. Alex King ahead of Niall Stevens, Ken Doyle, Sean McClemens, Camto Chukwa, Conor Melia, Diarmid Toomey. Then Lee Cogan, Brandon McGaughan, and Rory O'Shea.
Going to be very interesting second race, regardless of what the weather does. It's going to be an interesting one, and it looks like Jordan has made fools of us all because it looks dry here going into the second race. Will Rory O'Shea attempt the slicks for the second time, I wonder?
He is, but so is most of the grid. So Dylan, Tony, Harvey all on dries, Jan on dries, Darragh O'Connor on wets, Alex King on wets, Sean McClemens and Camto Chukwa also both on the wets. It's a real mixed bag here at the Miami Autodrome as the 5 red lights go out and we eagerly await who is quickest. And it seems to be the wet tyres once again because it's a monstrous start from Sean McClemens. He's up 6 positions into the first corner and is already in 3rd place. Tony Griffin has fallen down the order and there's 1, 2, 3 in the wall in the background.
Big accident in the background. We're going to have to go back and look at that, but you can see it's actually Dylan and Harvey on the dry tyres got off to a good start. Once again, Rory O'Shea, he's up and down like a fiddler's elbow, but he's up in the 9th at the moment. At one point, he was back all the way down and tumbling down, but he's managed to make his way back through. I wonder did he pick his way through some of that carnage. Sean in 3rd. He's already up 6 places as Sean McClemens, and I think he might have just scuttled his way through that carnage earlier on.
Fantastic start on the outside that Sean McClemens. This is Tony Griffin we're looking at in the red and yellow car and down in towards the first corner. Free into 1 does not go, and I think that's Niall Stevens who he has made contact with, as well as Jan Zoutvela, but Camto involved in that too.
Yeah, unfortunately, Tony getting caught up straight away. Oh, that's a car into the barrier. That's
Harvey Dara.
Harvey Dara. That's Harvey Darby, our second place, getting all fuzzy wuzzy into the barrier. And I wonder, is he going to get a little bit of damage here after that incident? Oh, that is Connor Melia, who is stranded now. Whatever way the physics have worked there, he's managed to get the car going, but he's on the racing line. He doesn't know when he has Niall Stevens behind him. Plenty of instant. We didn't need the rain, Jordan. Thanks very much. It was an interesting race, regardless of what the weather does. So Connor coming around here. Let's see what happens. Does he clip the barrier on his way through? I think he might have just over-rotated through the corner. Yes, he does, exactly. Just a little bit too aggressive over the corner. And as Peter McCann rather unkindly says, Connor Melia spin number 433.
It's quite a difference for Rory O'Shea. He lost all the positions from the front row in the last heat. He's up 9 here in the opening lap to 6th. Brandon McGaughan up 7 as well. Dylan McClemens fastest lap of the race, 51.3. Sean McClemens did a 54.1. So it definitely seems like the slicks are the way to go. But the wet tyres were able to give you that punch off the line and avoid the chaos. But be interesting to see how they develop over the race. Whether more rain is due to come in is one question, or whether it's just going to be constantly a drying track. If it's constantly a drying track, you would fancy those on the slicks, but you can never really tell on iRacing until it actually happens. But this is Dara O'Connor chasing after Sean McClemens, and both on the wet weather tyres. Alex King behind them, also on the wet weather tyres. So this is an even fight, and Dara O'Connor is looking fairly racy here.
Yeah, I mean, look, Dara was pretty high up after qualifying. Certainly showed some great pace early doors. Did the 73 car, so he's definitely getting more comfortable with this Miami track. Yeah, it's it would be great to see some racing. We're seeing a lot of carnage, and we're seeing a lot of drivers winning by a landslide, but we're not seeing a huge amount of actual side-by-side racing action. Thanks to Emerald Car Shots Photography for sending that in. That, of course, is the Peter McCann Memorial Paddling Pool. Toys to be thrown out of, sold separately. But Sean McClemens in third position at the moment, but a massive gap now. You can see it on the screen in front of you. 4 seconds now behind Harvey Dara.
I think this is one of the first ever races in RTA where we've had such an interesting tyre choice debate, as look what Brandon McGaughan has to do to keep them wet tyres under temperature. That's the old Schumi trick of pulling onto the wet surface. A lot of push to pass has been burned in the early stages in this one. It's a 15-minute heat, of course, this one. We are 4 minutes into it. And certainly the slicks look the better tyre now. This is Alex King trying it down the inside on Dara O'Connor, but Rory O'Shea is in contention here as well, and you're just going to see the exit. Rory O'Shea gets it in the air, goes Alex King off the tail of Dara O'Connor. I think he's able to continue.
Yeah, how did he manage that? Definitely iRacing physics at its finest, as Dara O'Connor is going to get overtaken by Rory O'Shea here now. The push to pass working for the Wexford native, who has ground to make up in this second heat, and he's on the back of Sean McClemens already. This is going to be an interesting one between McClemens and O'Shea. Sean will not want to give up third position, but Rory clearly has the pace.
Yeah, he does. This track's just getting better. Track temperature now sits at 34 degrees, 27 degrees air temperature. This is not conditions for wet weather tyres. Sean McClemens is going to be hanging onto this race car in a few laps' time, and he's really got to pay attention to keeping it on the road and not put it in the wall. He's still in an okay position for an okay finish, but if this track just keeps developing and developing, those on the slicks are going to be flying. As Rory O'Shea, I thought he was going to lunge it. I wonder, will there be a point in this one where pit stops could come into play? As look at the difference on the exit and the traction, and Rory O'Shea just has it.
Yeah, I mean, Sean is just fighting a losing battle there. He just doesn't have the grip underneath him to be able to battle against the number 11 car. And yeah, there's 3 cars now off in a battle on the wets, but then behind them you've Lee Cogan and Jan Zoutvela. And if you start seeing that time tumbling down, then like it's a difficult one. You're kind of damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's not a long enough race that pitting at this point would really help, because you're pitting so far behind everybody else. Even with fresh rubber, you can't make that work. But if you don't pitch, you're just a sitting duck. So I suppose the best thing you can do is be as big of a duck as you possibly can, that's probably what these guys are going to do. Alex King and Dara O'Connor battling each other. They're both on wet weather tires, so that's going to put more strain on those as they're starting to catch up with Sean a little bit, despite being on the wets. I wonder, is Sean really starting to overheat those wet weather tires?
Oh, absolutely. No question about that. This is not going to be a fun end to heat number 2 for those on the wet weather tyres. We're looking at one of them now, Brandon McGaughan, who's fighting with Conor Mealy, who's on the slicks. Like, just look, Brandon is looking for every damp bit of surface still on this circuit, and there's not many. I'm very interested to see what the weather conditions are like for heat number 3, but just look at Brandon through the corners. He just can't compete.
No, and it's not very often you'd say that about Brandon McGaughan, so that'll just give you an indication of how powerful the difference between the wet and the dry is here. As we said, Florida, it's a hot state. It is the roasting day, quite like the day we had today in our own fine country. Not a cloud. Neil Scommels to spare, I think, today. And to highs of, I think, was it 31 degrees or something was the high recorded earlier today. That was in Shannon Airport, I think, which was the record high in this country for the month of May. Well done to all of us. We'll keep burning rubbish at this rate, and we'll get that up even further next year. Conor Mealy up to 9th, and he's on the dry tyres, Conor, but he's so far behind Jan Zouteveld, like a 9-second gap. There's some big gaps up and down this grid, but this is not one of them between Dara and Lee Cogan. This is a genuine fight here. And also up the front, lads, we've been looking at the cars further back, but Harvey Dara's within 4/10 of Dylan McClements.
Yes, he is. Tá on green ag squilt and the gluck here in Miami, in Ireland as well. How long we're sounding like a radio station with how much we're mentioning it here, as we're going side by side down towards turn number 11. McClements on the inside, Harvey Dara on the outside, and this is two raw racers who are about to embark on a battle here in Miami. McClements has the defensive line. Won't be an overtaking through here. This is going to be get on the push to pass button down towards turn number 17 and see can you make something work. As Dylan McClements slides out of the corner. Harvey Dara instantly on the button, but he cannot burn too much of it. He has 35 seconds less than Dylan McClements does. Here's Harvey Dara. Where does he pivot his attack? He goes for the outside as Dylan is on the inside line. Who is going to be last on the brakes? Will it be Dylan? Will it be Harvey? It is Dylan McClements. It's crucial now that he hits his apex, and Harvey Dara is looking for the up and under, but that is classy from Dylan McClements. He's able to stay in front for the time being as they head down to turn 1.
Yeah, this is the kind of racing we've been looking for since the beginning of this race. As we say, this track is really good for that. Dylan getting a bit squally on the outside of the exit of turn 16, which really hampered him all the way into turn 17. And a small miracle that he managed not to give up the position. And another small one there as he managed to recover that. Max Verstappen-esque levels of recovery here from Dylan McClements as he tries to hold it around the outside, but getting more and more ragged is the number 88 car here against Harvey Dara, who I get a sense Harvey knows that if he can just keep his cool and keep Dylan under pressure, there may be more mistakes on the way.
Yeah, maybe Dylan is wringing the neck out of this car, certainly. Harvey Dara looking more controlled and composed at this time, but he's burned even more push to pass to get in this position, and it's almost do or die now for Harvey Dara if he wants to get in front of our race leader. 5 minutes to go in this one. Down towards turn number 11 once again. Dylan McClements is defensive, and he's he's closing the door on Harvey Dara, and Harvey is looking to force a mistake out of the number 88. In through here, Harvey just looks like he has better pace than Dylan, but that could be a case of the slipstream, which is not as powerful in this car maybe as other single-seaters, but certainly does exist. This is one of the corners Dylan slid out of the last time, but no, look at the smooth throttle application from the Antrim man in front, and now Harvey Dara has work to do.
Yep, serious work for Harvey. 4.5 minutes left though. He does have time, and a massive gap between himself and Rory O'Shea, and an even bigger gap between himself and Jan Zouteveld. So there are huge gaps, as we said, up and down the grid. Like 17 seconds between himself and Jan Zouteveld. That is absolutely enormous. And he is losing time on Dylan, but Dylan is starting to make a few mistakes, albeit small ones. But all you need to do is catch a curb a certain wrong way in these indyNXT cars, and you can be spun and spat straight into the barrier. And as Jordan says in the comments section, it is reminiscent of the battle that we had a couple of weeks ago between two Mercedes in Kimi Antonelli and George Russell. I will leave you to decide which one is which.
Alex King coming into the pit lane. I wonder, is that for a change of tyres or is that due to damage? I suppose we'll find out when we come out and see his pace, but Dylan McClellan still leading Harvey Dara, keeping all of his push to pass that he can burn in the final few laps here. This is a remarkable job by Dylan McClellan, but it does prove that he has more pace in his back pocket if necessary. So Harvey Dara has got to focus on getting this overtake complete when he has the momentum. Dylan, even more defensive than he has been previously, but it's a very wide braking zone in through turn number 11, so you can take multiple lines in it, and Harvey Dara still has to settle for second.
Yeah, I think the thing about this battle as well is when you look at that push to pass numbers, even if Harvey does get ahead, save for a big mistake from Dylan McClemens, Alex King has a black flag there now at the moment, so not sure what happened there. Perhaps poor pit, speeding in the pit lane, I was going to say, or a poor pit entry or pit exit. But it's this straight that'll probably decide things. Like Harvey is overtaking Dylan now at the moment to go into first position. And normally that would be accompanied with plenty of fanfare and the likes. But Dylan has such pace available to him, especially with that push to pass, that he's starting to use some of it now. That Harvey's going to be a bit of a sitting duck, particularly between turns 16 and 17 and that big long straight. So Harvey's desperately trying to take the battle to Dylan to try and make him make a mistake as they go through that twisty, turny turns 3, 4, 5, 6 section. But to be honest with you, Evan, it's going to be very, very hard for Harvey to try and hold on or try and mount any sort of challenge, because the minute they get to that turn 16, Dylan's going to put on the afterburners, and I think that'll be him down the road.
Yes, but push to pass is a driver assistance. You've still got to drive the car. Oh, as Harvey Dara whips off the curb. That was exceptionally close to the first sector and very skillful driving from the pair of them. Dylan is now on the button and burning it. You can only use it in 30-second intervals. Harvey Dara only has 3 seconds left, so that's going to matter not. He needs a very strong middle sector now to get on the tail of Dylan McClemens and use the slipstream. He brakes a lot later than the two. Or he breaks a lot later off the two, I should say. And Dylan McClemens is very slow now through the middle sector. Ran that little bit wide. He might have burned his tyres up a little bit more with all those slides and snaps. And Harvey Dara is still well in contention here on the penultimate lap of heat number 2 here in Miami. Harvey Dara runs a slightly different line. And you can see the steering inputs on your screen now for a brief second. And now you can see the speed. 240 kilometres an hour down the straight. Dylan McClemens on the button once again. And him saving that is saving himself in this motor race.
Oh yeah, I mean Dylan McClemens doing the classic wait till the end strategy with the push to pass, and he may end up actually with a bit of change in the back pocket as he crosses the line to take a second race win of the evening. Dylan absolutely masterful in that one. Started on pole, finished on pole. Great battle between himself and Harvey Dara, but as you said, Evan,
are we not still racing? And Dylan McClemens has pulled off here.
Oh, I think Dylan has misunderstood that we're
push to pass burns fuel unless he's burned too much fuel, but the clock is still ticking. This race is not over. Dylan McClemens is gone and Harvey Dara is home and dry bar a mistake.
Has Dylan McClemens done a Brian McManus?
Or Kevin Galvin.
Was it a Brian McManus did that? I'm trying to remember where it was Brian McManus did that.
The only thing, Ronan, just messaging us as well, Dylan's wheelbase has been acting up this evening. That wasn't the last lap. They crossed the line with about 20 seconds left to complete another lap. Push to pass does burn fuel. Could be another case of that, of maybe he was saving it all to fuel save, but I don't know why he wouldn't have the correct amount of fuel in anyways. But certainly, Harvey Dara has been absolutely gifted the win here in Miami.
What a really strange race. I mean, we were talking about it, about Dylan having enough push to pass to get him over the line, but and we were talking about Dylan crossing the line.
Dylan's in the interview room. I don't even think he knows still that he's lost the race.
I think we need to bring Dylan in at the end of this race and break the news to him. I think that's the only thing we can do, because
Dylan is waiting on an interview. Dylan, of course, now doesn't go in the main Discord channel with everyone else, I think Dylan thought it was a checkered flag, but here is the checkered flag out. Unless we're totally out of sync or something on our end, but Harvey Dara has just crossed the line to win second heat in Miami. This is incredible.
It looks to me like Harvey's won. I mean, that's what's coming up on our timing screens. And Rory O'Shea coming in second place, up 13 positions. And Jan Zouteveld getting us further position after getting 9 positions in the opening race to finish in third position. Right. Let's get Dylan in. Because he's going to be hanging around. He's left again. Dylan McClements has, I think, made royally probably the biggest mistake he's ever made in an RTA championship. One of the biggest mistakes we've ever seen a leader in the RTA championship have, and pulled over and pulled in with a lap to go. He did a Tour de France early celebration on it, and yeah, that's a really strange one. Geraldine says that Dylan said he was shown the checkered flag.
This is incredible.
But the clock hadn't passed. Oh, there it is. There it is, ladies and gents. There's a bit of real rain. So Dylan thinks he had crossed the line, pulled in, pulled up, ended up at the pits, and he's just gone and done a Brian McManus. Harvey Dara is our race winner. 9 seconds ahead of Rory O'Shea. Jan Zouteveld finishes in third, 20 seconds behind them. And then Conor Melia, Sean McClements, Lee Cogan. Sean, who incidentally did cross the line on the right lap. Lee Cogan, Dara O'Connor, Ken Doyle, Brandon McGahan, Campbell Chukwa, Dylan McClements, Niall Stevens, Tony Griffin, Alex King, and Diarmuid Toomey rounding off things. But yeah, Dylan McClements, P11, that should have been a P1.
He's kind of in the warpath here in heat number 3. Let's hear from. Also, Kevin, I have to say, I love the way you're acting as if you also didn't think it was the last lap. But let's bring in.
I didn't. I genuinely didn't. I was commentating as if Dylan was crossing the line to take the checker flag as well. I just presumed that he was. It's so strange.
Weird. Very strange. Let's bring in our actual winner, though, Harvey Dara.
Right. Harvey. Sorry, just before Evan gets to you, can you explain what happened there? Were you weren't shown a checkered flag crossing the line on the penultimate lap?
No, it was a white flag.
Okay, Evan, I'm going to leave you to take over from here.
So Dylan pulling off after a great fight. We'll get to that in a second, but a good race between the two of you. The first, I suppose, moment of interest in that race was the tyre selection. You went for the slicks. Was there any doubt in your mind that that was the wrong decision?
The last race, there was like a dry line just forming everywhere. And I kind of thought, time's not changed, so we might as well stick it on slicks. And like, if it dries up that quickly as it did in the last one, I can just survive on slicks for the first few laps, and then I'll be quicker at the end. So that was kind of the thinking, but it seemed quicker just at the start anyway, so that was good.
Yeah, then throughout the race, yourself and Dylan miles up at the front. You were using a lot of the push to pass compared to Dylan, still couldn't find a way past. Is it tricky to overtake around here?
It's more the fact that you can't really use any of the curbs at all, so anytime I try and like maybe go down the inside or go around the outside, there was always a curb there, and it was just not one to spin off. So I just thought there's not really any other ways we're going to get past them, so I just dumped all the push to pass in one straight and tried to see what happened, So.
And then at the very end of the race, what was going through your mind when you saw Dylan pull up?
I was like, oh, because I just kind of knew straight away. I was like, oh, he thought that was checker flag. I've seen people do that before, and I was like, I was happy, but I felt really bad for him, like, at the same time, because, yeah, it was a good race.
Harvey, thank you very much for joining us, and appreciate your honesty as always, and best of luck for heat number 3.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
And now to head to second place with Kevin, Rory O'Shea.
Yeah, Rory, a superb race from you. Not to linger on the negatives, but that the decision to take slicks in the first race, can you talk us a little bit through that?
Oh, that was a complete Hail Mary, really. Just the track looked dry, and it obviously wasn't. So that I just kind of got caught out by that, and then I decided to stick with it then in the second one, and I pulled off. Thank God.
Yeah, incredible. You're up. I think you were up to 13 places by the time you finished. Obviously, being helped by the fact that that Dylan pulled in a lap early from the lead, but nonetheless, to finish P2 after that start and that opening race, you must be absolutely delighted.
Yeah, they've obviously got a bit fortunate with Dylan there, but I suppose not the first time where you've seen that. At least he didn't start doing donuts or anything. But
Take
yeah,
notes,
no, I was
Brian
happy enough
McManus.
with the drive. I suppose it was made a lot easier with everyone on wets, but it was tough out there to kind of find where the grip was. But yeah, no, it'll be wet though for the next one, so back to the wets.
Yeah, so no slicks this time, I take it.
Oh no, not at all. It's fully saturated.
Okay, brilliant. All right. Rory, well done. Brilliant. Hopefully speak to you in the final race after the final race.
Yeah, thank you.
And have we time to have a quick chat with our wet weather specialist, Jan Zoutvella, ahead of a very wet final race?
Well, I take it no, given he's already dipped, so I think he's made that decision for us, unfortunately.
I don't get to see who's in the interview room because I'm not given those privileges. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm the left out one here in this group.
Some interesting chat reaction after the lap early incident. Jordan saying that he finds it incredibly funny. Johnny Hollywood just saying shenanigans. A couple of Brian McManus references. Peter saying Brian actually left sim racing over it. Oh, that doesn't feel as funny anymore, unfortunately. Kevin Joyce saying damn. And a couple of oh dears. But look, the only way to stop people talking is by doing talking on the track. And Dylan McClements now can try do that from 11th position. But it's Ken Doyle in the Ling Motorsports on pole. Then it's Dara O'Connor alongside him in second. Lee Cogan, Sean McClemens third and fourth. Conor Melia, Jean Zautavella fifth and sixth. Rory O'Shea, Harvey Dara seventh and eighth. And it is Brandon, Campto, Dylan and Niall Stevens in 12th. Followed behind them, Tony Griffin in 13th. Alex King 14th. Dermot Toomey in 15th position. I don't think there's going to be any debate over tyres in this race, Kevin.
No, absolutely not. And just a very quick final note, as you said, Dylan didn't do donuts, so already better than Brian McCann. And I think that's one of those mistakes you make once and you make it never again. So a lesson learned the hard way for young McClements. Let's see if he can make up for it in the final race, because he certainly has pace to burn. So last to first challenge for Dylan McClements. No streamers needed.
Yes, here come the red lights for the final heat of the evening. 20 minutes around a soaking wet Miami Autodrome as we go racing here. And that's an excellent start from one of the McClements as Sean got to the outside, but then went offline and was all square machine. Oh, that's a takeout. That's a massacre at the first corner. And Dara O'Connor has sent Ken Doyle packing.
Oh, that's straight out of the Valtteri Bottas Hungary playbook. Barreling into car in the first corner, causing a huge accident, and Jan Zoutvella up to third position. Rory O'Shea, lads, finally on the correct tyres. He's up 6 places to first. He started in 7th.
Oh, there's 2 off into the wall. There's 2 off into the wall. Campto Chuka was one of them. Conor Melia was running front wingless. It's O'Shea, McClements, Zautavella, but you can barely see with the spray. Conor's just trundling around trying to get back to the pit lane, so he doesn't have to wait for a tow, that he can just get a fast repair as they head down towards turn number 11 now. But it's like a game of Where's Wally, trying to spot the cars in amongst the water spray, and Dylan McClements is able to navigate the slow Conor Melia, who is falling down, and I think might have just pulled off to let them through.
Yeah, Connor, also a very tall gentleman, but unfortunately, Campto's a very tall guy as well, to be fair. But unfortunately, not his race this evening. He pulls up in the pits, not a number of people's races, and might have an opportunity to look at that again as Jan Zoutvella goes a little bit loose there going through. But yeah, we've gone from complete dry to total monsoon here, so thanks very much to Jordan Kelly. Let's have a look at this replay.
This is not going to look pretty, folks.
I'd say close your eyes and cue the Jaws music. Here is Dara O'Connor. That is grim. That is really grim.
I don't know what he was
really
thinking
grim.
there.
He just completely lost his braking marker and locked up straight into the side of poor Ken Doyle, who
well, you know, in the famous phrase, he doesn't have to hit the apex.
Yeah.
He doesn't
Not
have
mandatory. Not
There's no
mandatory.
obligation.
Ken's gone around
Oh,
there
lads, there's
again
3 more
and
gone.
has oh, what a disappointing evening for Tony Griffin. A disastrous evening for our championship leader. Another big air laser guided job, says Peter McCann.
Oh, it's Ken again.
Yeah, here's Ken. Let's see. Is he going to get retribution on Dara O'Connor?
Oh,
No, it's
please.
Tony Griffin. Oh, it's
Oh,
Tony.
no. Oh, no.
Cleaning out somebody. What is Tony doing?
Oh,
Oh,
no.
lads.
Oh,
How
no.
is Tony Griffin
no.
doing in the front of the shot? Oh,
Bro.
lads.
Bro, do we have to see that, please?
What is this? This is like an F1
Lads, just
online
5 them
lobby.
off.
It's an F1 online lobby that we're looking at right now. Right. Let's
I
have a
really
look at
hope
our
this isn't Tony losing the head.
championship leader, Tony Griffin. Somebody's gone down the inside, and Tony's just not expecting.
Ah, no. Ah, lad. This is Ireland's premier sim racing series. What have we come to? Dylan's in 4th. He's got to win. Just hand it to him.
Lads, just a reminder, a lot of these drivers drive in the real world as well, and they're doing stuff like this.
I didn't
Like
catch who that was
confound-
going for the move on the inside of Tony Griffin. But
Oh,
that's
dear.
scandalous.
They were nowhere close to ever getting there. That was right out of the Darragh O'Connor playbook. This is Rory O'Shea. Is Rory going to befall some bad luck? I suspect so. Oh, that's a bit loose. That's even looser.
Ah, Jordan, you're an
dear.
arsonist.
Oh my God, there's Rory out in the outside. Yeah, this is, as I said, this is average F1 lobby, online lobby shenanigans, although these drivers do at least have some excuse given the conditions that we have, but dear God.
Lads.
Yeah, here's
Well, what's he supposed to do?
Shan's out, fella. Can't see much. Yeah, I think, you know what? 5-second penalty to Ocon and a 20 point deduction for Jordan Kelly. That's the only way I can think we can get ourselves around this race. It's the only way to fix this.
I'd say the beep sensor is flat out one of the comments. Yes. The spotter is on, rap god. Just
Let's just
constant
be
blabbering.
let's just be thankful that Jack Wynn isn't participating in this, to have this live stream to the masses, because this is absolutely carnage. How you're even getting pushed
This is
past
Drift
you?
Masters.
Yeah. Well, it's indyNXT crash, I think. This is the Peter McCann knockhill simulator that we're watching right in front of you. But yeah, but Jordan claims he tested it. Oh, Jan,
lads.
lads, that is absolutely the Peter McCann knockhill simulator right there. That is absolutely put a bit of gravel in there, and you have the ultimate experience. The only man who seems to be keeping himself some way out of trouble is this man. This is Sean McClements, and he's being followed by Happy Dara. Emerald Car Shot says,
a good one.
bring your Peter McCann to Workday Grand Prix. Superb.
Oh, if you want to drive in these conditions, you need to learn how to drive in. Shan's instantly come into the stream.
Oh, here's Darby. Darby down the inside. He's never going to make it, ladies and gentlemen. I've seen pints of milk turn quicker.
I'm not saying I'd be excellent in these conditions, but why do they keep going for the inside for the hairpin?
I have no idea. Jan just says, "Oh," which is, I think, the total sum of what was going through his brain as he just skidded all the way through turn 17 into the barrier. Right, here's Tiernan Toomey, behind Conor Mealy, despite Conor Mealy's many woes. I don't think we need a paddling pool, to be honest, this evening. I think we have enough rain as it is. Plenty of wet weather here. No need to head to home store or more. As Sam says, it's more in the gardening section, the hose that you need in order to properly simulate what's going on here.
Yeah, he's aquaplaning on the straight.
This is insane.
This
stuff.
needs
Jordan,
to be red flagged.
Jordan,
Red
this
flag.
is ridiculous. Sorry, no, Jordan, this is absolutely ridiculous. I honestly think Jordan should get a championship penalty point deduction. He should actually get 15 penalty points given to him for setting up this server. This is absolutely ridiculous.
So Jordan's gone. He's gone. Right. I'm busy. I'm not racing. Right. Grace is not racing. Right. Let's punish everyone else.
Jordan
And
says there's
seemingly
two
you can get
stages
worse
of
than this.
heavier rain. 2 stages of heavier rain to this. Presumably, that means that the track is actually underwater at that point. Like you actually just sink in it. It's underwater racing at that point.
Can we actually just maybe do a bit of an onboard about Harvey Dara and just have a look at how the top two are driving this car? The good point is that push to pass is still enabled here, so they can still use the overtaking assistant. Like, Harvey Dara has no idea where the corner is. He can just about judge it with that bridge maybe in the trees. There's your braking board, so you know it's the third one. Well, a bit earlier than the third one given the conditions, and he's played that well. But watch him going down the straight here. The steering inputs needed to keep this car in a straight line. This is amazing racing if you like it. If you're not too fond of wet weather racing, this is torture. As well, we were going to look at the steering inputs, we're going to look at the nose cone. But, like, you've got to be a talented driver to drive in these conditions. The job these guys are doing at the front just to keep this on the track is absolutely exceptional. And as fun as this one has been with all the carnage and stuff, just keeping this car on the road and still pushing it as a race car, like, it's unbelievable and really shows the talent on display. The other stuff maybe doesn't, but this does.
I'm genuinely expecting an iceberg to appear here at some point, and for a crying couple and a plank of wood to go floating past as Harvey
loads of room on that door.
some of these. Yeah, there is so much room in that door. Yeah, I mean, not enough room for Jean's outfit to get the car stopped on it, but enough room for somebody else.
Not enough room in the Atlantic Ocean for that.
Yeah. Well, Jean took the Titanic approach to the barrier on the outside of turn 17. Fuck, it'd be grand. We go through it. Could have had something to do with his hands in his pockets. Right, Harvey in second. We're down to 11 people. It's fine. We're past the watershed. 10 drivers, lads, left driving, just by the way. And bottom of that pile is our current championship leader. So that'll give you an indication of how people have been finding this. I'm actually shocked that there's still a battle going on here, and it's 7/10 between these two lads, because this is insane. Like, that corner is sketchy enough in the dry, never mind trying to do it in the wet. And they're both on the push to pass. This is brave from both Sean McClemens and Harvey Dara taking the push to pass here. And Sean is still on the push to pass. Let's see what happens when he gets into 6th gear.
See, we're looking at this going, wow, this is remarkable. This is so impressive. These two are looking at this like, right, I want 30 points. I want to win the race. As Sean has gone a little bit deeper to the corner, and he's going to have to almost Scandi flick it around the Miami hairpin. Harvey Dara will tuck into the slipstream, which is almost not a benefit at this point because you can't see where he's going. Rotates round in the wet conditions, but does crucially keep it out of the wall.
And Dylan just follows his brother through. They're so funny, the McClemens brothers. They're incredibly, it's incredible how they always end up near the top no matter what happens. Harvey ending up in the wall. Little bit too eager on the loud pedal, but when I say that, you could probably be at 15% acceleration and he'd still probably flick this thing into the wall. Very, very difficult. Sam says, I imagine this is how the 2021 Belgian Grand Prix would have turned out.
It couldn't have been this bad.
Lads, we need a comment of the day. There's so many good ones in today, lads. You're on top form today in the chat. Really enjoying this.
I still think bringing your Peter McCann to work today might just take it. As Lee Cogan is running one position off the podium, 25 seconds behind.
Yeah, and he only needs one more spin or issue of that to get into the top 3. I mean, yeah, it's boatsmanship at its very finest. I mean, it really is. And to be fair, in lieu of a proper boat simulator, we have a great flight simulator, and we have a very good truck simulator, and we have some great racing simulators, but the platform really lacks a good boat simulator, and I think that's what Jordan's just trying to bring us. I think he's trying to really show us the boatsmanship that these guys have. It's exceptional. you could put them in the America's Cup here. I mean, this is more reminiscent of the America's Cup than an actual motor race, given how much water we have. Yeah.
You know the
Like,
sea shanty. You could put that over this, like, or
yeah,
it
what should
wouldn't
we
be
do
out
with
of
a
place.
Duncan?
I was,
No.
that's someone's car destroyed and stopped. I think that's Rory O'Shea,
Shay, I think, yeah.
who's aquaplaned into the wall somewhere on the main straight.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the latest victim of Jordan Kelly's evil scheme. And he was
Oh, he's
already
no rear
missing a
wing
rear wing.
for the spin.
And he continues to have no rear wing and is very lucky to still have a front wing with 2 cars chasing behind, absolutely completely blinded. But yeah, it is it's a bit of a disaster. Geraldine has offered a picture of
Calm down,
Sean
Sam.
with his swimming goggles. That is something I think we all need to see. Even better if we could Photoshop him into said paddling pool. That would make for an image that I think would stay with us for a very long time. This is Conor Melia. And around he goes. And he managed to avoid
Kept it out of the
contact.
wall.
Fair, no. Fair play to him. Yeah, this is quite a silly, isn't it? This is a little bit silly.
It is a little bit silly.
It's a little bit silly. Jordan.
Stream gone to the dogs again.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we're not even blinking at this point. I mean, we couldn't possibly blink. There's only about 10 cars left on track, so it's not exactly that much for our own CPU to render at this point. There's Ken going for a trip off to the sea, and that is, of course, vinyl water, but it might as well be real water for the amount that's fallen on it. And yep, Ken's off in the distance. Right, how much time do we have to? Oh, here's Rory O'Shea.
We're actually
Still
just
no rear
watching
wing.
replays.
It's a bit like the real F1 chat stream in that case. Yeah, Rory. There's Ken rejoining from the earlier. Rory O'Shea doing his best Sol Campbell at Wembley impression by just sliding right out of the arena into the advertising hoardings on the outside. Right, Sean and Dylan are having a good old ding-dong battle, and whether we get to see a picture of Sean in his goggles or not, we're not sure, but he's going to be needing to use them, because very shortly, if his brother has anything to do with it, he'll be looking at his brother's spray as he goes past.
Ah, look at this.
Dylan,
Side by
getting the
side.
move done. This
In
is
the wet
actually
conditions.
how you do it. This is how you do it, lads. This is how you do it. Outstanding from Dylan and Sean McClements, by the way. Sean had his part to play, but what an overtake by Dylan McClements around the outside.
Oh,
Sean's gonna move down the inside.
No, he's gone.
Adios, Sean. Lest we barely knew ye, Sean McClements. He's gone for a paddling, for a bit of a paddle, and that allows Harvey Dara back into second place.
Oh, disappointing for Sean. He was really driving excellent. I think he was a high driver of the day candidate because he was the only one who's been squeaky clean all evening. But look who is in the lead. He is inevitable. He is unbelievable in conditions such as like this. And the prodigy is back on top.
Well, I mean, we talked about how difficult it was for him to get up to the front. Essentially, he performed one overtake on his brother and watched everybody else bin it over the last 15 minutes.
To finish first you have to finish.
Absolutely. And let's hope that Dylan can see it out for the next 15 minutes. Get your driver of the day nominations in, lads. You're gonna have to take this race out of it. It is a bit of a ridiculous race, to be fair, but we had some very good races in the opening 2 races, so feel free to cast your votes for that, because we still have driver of the day going for the 3rd round. God, it feels like we've been doing this forever, but it's the 3rd round. We still have 5 more weeks left of this, and Dylan and Harvey both on the push to pass. Once again, we see a Dylan Harvey battle going into the final of this race, and Harvey's had a really good evening, to be fair to him.
He has. Harvey has been solid. He's honestly going to put himself into a good championship position here. Dylan and Tony will both lose points significantly. Dylan because of Heat 2. Tony because it's just been a terrible evening for Tony. But to be fair, unfortunately, he was probably due one. Not really been through much fault of his own. The tyre choice wasn't great, and then this race has been what this race has been. So this is a really good points haul for Harvey Dara if he can keep it on the track. And a race win is not out of the question here. Looking at the last lap times, Harvey Dara was a second quicker than Dylan McClements up the front. So still on here.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, he's
Oh,
gone
no.
for a swim. He is gone for a swim. There's shark-infested waters there on the outside, and Harvey unfortunately finds himself in it. Look at the counter steering just to try and keep this thing on the track. It is insane, and the rain is still smashing down. This is like it's like being in the Inishowen Peninsula at the beginning of January. It's horrendous stuff altogether, and that's before we even talk about the weather. Harvey, P2, Sean sent himself to the shops in football parlance, and Harvey's still 7 seconds ahead of him. But all Dylan needs to do is keep himself basically free. I feel like whoever wins driver of the day this evening should get a free Speedo swimming cap for their efforts because yeah, it's been an absolutely insane evening.
Yeah, it has been really, really impressive. Driving by some, by others not necessarily. But who
Nope.
knows? By the way, Dara
Dara
O'Connor,
O'Connor.
he's fourth.
He's fourth.
He's
He's
fourth.
fourth. He's fourth after doing an Osama bin Russell on the race start. Right. I don't know whether we get demonetized now that I've accidentally said the former leader of that particular organization. Here's Rory O'Shea. Let's see. And yep, Rory doing Dead or Alive. You spin me right round like a record, baby. And yeah, Rory managing to not have a major accident. Oh, here's Dara O'Connor. And this time he's decided to only nerf himself and not anybody else in the race. Let's see what 73 does here. And around she goes, I suspect. Here we go. Woohoo! We need
Well,
what
there.
we need in this commentary. We did actually. What we need in this commentary booth is a
Some
soundboard.
professionalism.
No, we need a sound booth with you know, the sound, that kind of comedy sound when somebody slips on a banana peel. That sort of like kind of. We need that. Every time somebody goes around, we can just put that over the top of it, right? Not quite. You every time it spins, it wasn't even a replay. Oh man.
Just let him get out of the system, folks.
It just, you literally hit it, and as you hit it, Harvey spun live on it. You actually couldn't make it up, right? We've passed the 20-minute mark, and I think for all of these guys, they are going to be very happy to see the end of this race. Yeah, I honestly think Jordan Kelly should get a 30 points championship penalty deduction for setting this race. I think he should just be banned, sanctioned, and never allowed to set another race ever again.
Potentially, but it has still given us some form of entertainment here on Tuesday night on Gantry TV. And I love how both Dylan and Harvey are still on the push to pass button, reminiscent of the Heat 2 end. But for this time, it is actually the last lap for Dylan McClements, and he is heading for the final corners now. Some drivers don't have that ability to bounce back instantly after a issue occurred. Dylan has recovered exceptionally. He might not have got the 30 points in heat number 2, but he has certainly taken them with both hands here in heat number 3. And Dylan McClements bounces back instantly to take the heat 3 win. Harvey Dara, after all the trouble he had, and he got to take P3, yes, or P2 just about. Sean McClements comes home in P3. Still 2 McClements on the podium. Dara O'Connor, remarkably, is on track for 4th here.
Yep. I think a fitting end to Harvey Dara's race there. Rather tidily sums up the entire race in one short clip there as Dara O'Connor comes across the line to finish in P4. Lee Cogan, P5. Ken Doyle, despite being caught up in that enormous carnage, is in P6. Let's have a look at what happened with Conor Melia. Another one bites the dust. Here comes Conor. Will he make this corner? What are the odds? He makes the corner. Will he make it out of the corner? No, he will not. And will somebody come and collect him on the racing line? No, Conor gets off the track. Good work from Conor. I think that was going to be Tony Griffin that was arriving on the scene, but Yeah, not a good evening for Tony Griffin, by the way, our race, our championship leader, Lee Cogan, going backwards across the start finish line. Just to talk further about professionalism, as Ken Doyle manages to wrestle his way around. Oh, I thought I was going to stack it there, Ken, but he managed to get across the line in P6. And yeah, Dylan, superb drive from him. Didn't put a foot wrong all evening, did the 88 car, and justly deserves his first place in this final race.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he was the only one to not go off at some point in this race. Exceptional driving from start to finish. And his heat-free performance will be the one remembered from this evening. Matt Stevens is going to round out in 7th. I'm actually surprised the amount of cars we're getting to the checkered flag here. It was a bit like an early day 24-hour Le Mans where you expect maybe 3 or 4 finishers, but we've got a good few more. Tony Griffin comes home in 8th. Even though this was a bad evening by Tony's standard, he still takes good points because of the amount of drivers who either didn't compete or didn't finish. But, well, Jan Zoutevella unlikely to make the checker if he's sat like that.
Yeah, no, and it would be good if Jan makes a decision because we are waiting to finish up and go home. Thanks very much, Jan. So if you, Tony's on hand. There you go. Tony's on hand to give Jan a bit of a helping push. Right, that's the end of our feature race. Let's have the classified results. We can get to interviews and we can round up here on what has been a pretty chaotic round 3 of the RTA indyNXT Championship.
So Dylan McClemens takes the win. Harvey Dara in 2nd, Sean McClemens in 3rd, Dara O'Connor in 4th, Lee Cogan in 5th, Ken Doyle in 6th, Niall Stevens in 7th, Tony Griffin in 8th, and Conor Mealy in 9th, and Rory O'Shea in 10th. Jan Zoutevella in 11th. Then it was Dermot Toomey, Brandon McGaughan, Camto Chukawa, Alex King, and the Devil listed in 16th, Jordan Kelly. But let's hear from your race winner, Dylan McClemens. Dylan, congratulations. An exceptional win there at the end. Unfortunately, have to get a certain question out of the way. And that was the end of Heat 2. What happened?
I don't even know. I think I was batting my heart at the time, Harvey, at the time, and I must have thought it was the last lap. Came across the line and I saw a flag out the top left, but didn't really look, and thought I'd won
it. What was going through your head after you realised that you weren't? Because we saw you actually joined the interview channel and all.
Yeah, it took me. My mum had to come up and tell me that I didn't win it. After I was like contemplating life for a bit, but then I knew I had to make up the last race and went out and won again.
Yeah, that last race. When you saw how heavy the conditions were, did you fancy your chances?
Well, I was quite close to death in the first lap. Like I had gone off a few times and didn't realise, but until I saw my pace starting to build up, I knew there was definitely a shot.
Wet weather driving in monsoon-like conditions, is that something that suits you?
Yeah, I think so. Every time it's wet, I kind of go well, but I was being extra cautious because my wheelbase was acting up again. Middle of the straights, it just went straight.
Okay, so a few issues, and even still, what Peter McCann has described as the greatest drive yet in RTA. So Dylan, congratulations on a fantastic win tonight.
Thank you, Evan.
And now let's hear from the second place man with Kevin, Harvey Dara.
Harvey, I would say it was an up and down race, but I think it was a bit of a round and round. Oh, he's gone again. Harvey, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Very good. I was going to say a bit of an up and down race, but you could also call it a round and round race for not just you, but everybody involved. You obviously know that Jordan sets the server. I'm just interested to know, had you any words for him following that race?
Actually, I'm really happy that he set it to absolutely soaking wet because that's probably the quickest I've ever been. So, gotta love him. Gotta love him.
Right. Yeah, it was treacherous though, wasn't it? And especially on that push to pass, it looked like a couple of guys just completely missed their braking markers. Obviously, I think pretty much everybody apart from Dylan went off. And you had a cracking battle with with Dylan for a while until you spun off going into the final section. But we saw a lot of people make that same mistake coming out of turn 18, sorry, going into turn 19. So that looked like a place that was really greasy.
Yeah, especially I think I think nearly all the times that I spun, I was behind somebody. Or well, maybe not that last time, but as soon as I seemed to get in the spray, I just seemed to lose like visual of just like where the grip actually was, because like it was just you could not see the brake markers or nothing, and it's just like I was going into that kind of last big long slow corner, and genuinely I think I braked at like the 300 or something. I just didn't have a clue where I was braking. It was crazy, like.
But look, come here, you made it work for you, and it's while others have fallen by the wayside, particularly Tony Griffin, our championship going into his championship leader. Like you've made up quite a lot of points. So in a round that a lot of people are going to use as their drop round, that'll probably give you something in the back pocket now going forwards.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this was a really good round for me. Like, even though I made those 3 mistakes, I mean, in a race like that, they weren't race ending, and that was really the whole goal. As long as I just kind of survived up at the top, I should just pull away. But it was definitely very good, and probably be very good for the championship too. I'd say, yeah.
Yeah, well, certainly. We hope you're up and amongst this. You're certainly giving Dylan and Tony and the likes to run for mother for their money, should I say. Dara, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully speak to you next week. Well done on your second place finish.
Thank you very much.
Right, and finally, third place, I believe, is one Sean McClements, who hopefully we may have some photo image of his final race experience.
John, congratulations on the podium. For a man who spent the last 2 days sunning himself, how did you adapt to the monsoon tonight?
I didn't. That's the thing. Them conditions is easily the worst conditions I've ever seen in my entire life. To the point, I think that Jordan Kelly should get bad things done to him.
Yeah, Heat 2 especially, you picked the wrong rubber. What happened there?
Well, so
That's
obviously
right.
Dylan being Mike Verstappen, like you listen to what he's going to pit on, like. So he texts me and says, "I go, you go, put on the wets, put on the wets." I says, "Right, grand." And then with like 10 seconds to go, he goes, "Actually, no, go dry." And I didn't have enough time to change it, like, so I just, I was losing something like 2 or 3 second a lap, and then by the end of the race, it was like 6 seconds or something, like. But here, good start all the same, so that's all that matters.
Did Dylan also tell you where to brake for turn 1?
Uh, yeah, he did, yeah. No, but weirdly, like, I thought that one, I actually broke really early compared to like any other laps, and went
No, you
on
didn't.
closer to the inside. No, I did, to be
No, you
fair,
didn't. Don't
because
lie.
I braked in the inside then too, and she instantly just locked up completely. Like, I must have done that. There's nothing, uh, there's nothing you could have done. You were just a passenger then at that stage, like, so. And I went back and looked, and I had less brake pressure on than I had previous laps, and it just once the rears locked, that was it, like.
Well, ongoing in the championship then, what's the ambition? It's weird seeing you being competitive at the front and not causing mayhem, to be honest. So, are you going to plan to continue on your success streak?
Well, if tonight's anything to go by, I need to do a bit more testing. I didn't really do. I literally bought the track at like 20 to 8 tonight or something. So if obviously I need to put a bit more hours into it, but a bit more testing sort of for the next couple of rounds. My drop round this season is going to be a race that I won't actually even like. I won't be racing, so for a race, so I just need to sort of get as much points as I can and see how we get on. Do a bit more testing and yeah, try keep it clean. See what happens. Like.
Don't like this weird media trained you, to be honest. But Sean, thank you very much for joining us.
Evan, you were the man that trained me.
So good to hear from Sean McClements on his race. Yeah, that concludes a weird evening, another weird indie next evening in RTA.
I'll never get sick of Sean McClemens being cut off halfway through a sentence. Yeah, it is. It's been a very weird evening, but it's still a McClemens who has powered his way through. And I'm sure you're waiting with bated breath to hear who won driver of the day this evening. It was not Dylan McClemens.
I
It
vote for him.
wasn't Sean McClemens. It wasn't Harvey Dara. It wasn't even Jan Zoutvella. Nor was it Dara O'Connor, you'll be shocked. Our driver of the day is everyone who actually finished the final race. So congratulations to everybody that survived that final race. You have all collectively won driver of the day. Sponsored by Speedo. You'll be getting your free togs in the post. Yeah, that was an absolute ridiculous last race, but it was great racing in the first two races, and particularly that battle we saw between Sean and Dylan and Harvey Dara as well. Good in there from Rowan Hedeman. Right, from me, Kevin Galvin. I didn't get to do an intro. I was slightly delayed, family issues, unfortunately, but I will be back as normal next week when we head to what will hopefully be a somewhat drier Phoenix Speedway. Oh my God, could you imagine if the weather was like this and we were oval racing in these? Oh dear God! Right, we're heading to Phoenix. It should be dry there. That's in Arizona, one of the driest states in the United States in the whole of the USA. So, yeah, we should be okay with that one. That is on the 2nd of June. So this concludes our May roundup. From myself, from Evan Dalton, and from Ronan as well. Many thanks for your support. Head to rtavirtualmotorsport.com to get all the latest in that. Thanks to all of you who were at Gamerfest as well and joined us at Gamerfest last weekend. I say us, Ronan and Evan. I'm sure the lads had a great time meeting you all and displaying the rigs. Bois Motorsports, you can head to them on Instagram, on Facebook, online as well. They do some super stuff, and also simconsultants.com. For all of your sim racing gear. Don't be left stuck when the weather turns, and it will turn this bank holiday Monday, and you will be looking to get back in the rig. So I can guarantee you. So make sure you're sorted well ahead of that. A big good luck to all of those who are taking part in exam season as well. I know that's coming up this week and into next week. So many best of luck to all those drivers who are taking part. I know a good few of the old Irish wildfire contingent are doing their leaving cert, and there's others doing their junior certs as well. So a huge good luck to you, and try not to get overly stressed about the experience. It is only an exam at the end of the day. It doesn't define you. But yeah, that coming from the team who commentate on virtual sim racing. But yeah, it's look, don't take my word for it, take other people's words for it. Right, from Ronan Hedeman in the background, from Evan Dalton and myself, many thanks for tuning in. We'll be here next week for Phoenix for the fourth round as we get to the halfway stage of the RTA indyNXT Championship 2026. But until then, have a great week, enjoy the rest of the weather. Slán go fóill.